Namaste friends, my name is Amit. Welcome to my channel Ganesha-Hanuman. Today in this video we'll talk about Mercury retrograde. So I want to highlight two important things that most people don't consider. And so Mercury will be retrograde starting today, April 21st through May 14th in the sign of Aries. And so two things that most people ignore is one is, yes, you need to be careful with your communication, with your intelligence, with your way of thinking. Don't overthink. Be careful traveling. Be careful with your documentation, with your sense of humor. All of those, yes, you want to be careful. But first thing is, Mercury retrograde is a huge opportunity for us to make some area of life better. It's like a blessing in that area of life. And which area, so that brings to the second thing. So which area of life it is, that depends on the sign the Mercury is going retrograde, but you want to focus on the previous sign. So right now, Mercury is going retrograde in the sign of Aries. So everybody's just focusing on Aries, Aries, Aries. But this Nadi technique says you want to see the planet in the previous sign. So if a planet is retrograde, it wants to go back to the previous sign. So from Aries, Mercury wants to go back to Pisces. Okay, so you want to analyze where Pisces is in your chart, which house Pisces is. Don't focus too much on Aries, but you need to focus on the sign of Pisces. So let's see, break it down. So Mercury is our communication, sense of humor, trade, commerce, the way of thinking, all of that, travel, documentation, all of that, right? So retrograde, yes, be careful. But Nadi technique says retrograde means it's giving you a golden chance, an opportunity to go back to the previous sign and make things better in that area of life. So which area of life will that be? So that depends on your rising sign. We'll go over all the 12 rising signs one by one. But keep in mind, most people say Mercury is retrograde in Aries, but they forget to analyze the sign of Pisces in your chart. So those are the two big things you need to keep in mind. So we'll go one by one. We'll look at all the 12 rising signs. So if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. So let's look at all the 12 rising signs. Okay. So this is the chart as of April 21st today. And as you can see, Mercury is retrograde. Okay. Now we need to understand, first of all, what does it mean? Mercury represents what? Mercury is intelligence. Mercury is communication, sense of humor. Mercury is our thinking process. Mercury is trade, commerce. Mercury is presentation. All of that, connection with friends. All of that is Mercury. So that's Mercury inherently. Okay. Retrograde means a planet appears to be moving backwards. So right now, Mercury is in Aries. Okay. Retrograde means it tends to move back one sign. So instead of Aries, it wants to go back to Pisces. So in other words, essentially you can put Mercury, if a planet is retrograde, you can put it in the previous sign. So that's the Nadi, in Nadi, Bhrigu Nadi, so we consider the planet to be sitting in the previous sign if it's retrograde. Okay, so Mercury, for all practical purposes, you can say Mercury, yes, it'll give results for Aries, some of it, but not all of it. You have to look at Mercury in the previous sign. Okay. So what is the blessing? What is the hidden, opportunity? That is, retrograde means that it gives you a second chance. It's giving you an opportunity to rectify something that you may have forgotten earlier, or something may have gone wrong. So now is the golden opportunity to correct that. So it's like analyzing what's been done already. It's about fixing something that may not have been done perfectly the first time. So that's your golden opportunity to go back and fix things. Now, which area of life it's asking you to bring your attention to, that depends on your rising sign. So let's begin. So this is, first of all, we'll talk about Aries rising. So this is number one, Aries sign. And Mercury is sitting in Aries and it's going retrograde, right? Now, retrograde Mercury, what is it doing? Retrograde Mercury means it wants to go back to the previous sign, right? So essentially, you can say your Mercury is pretty much in the 12th house. It wants to go back to the 12th house, okay? And 12th house is all about our astral travel. It's about our sleep. It's about our the hidden things. And it's the dreams, the secret enemies, the foreign places, foreign things. It's the feet. It's the meditation. It's the healing places. It's the isolation, all of that. So in other words, Mercury is giving you a second chance. Maybe you need to focus more on your sleep. Okay, so 12th house is sleep, so it's giving you a second chance. Hey, do some things, do some improvements in the way you sleep, or the sleeping hours, or make your sleep more regular. It may giving you maybe giving you some opportunity to fix your expenses and losses, because 12th house is also losses and expenses, so the money going out. So Mercury is saying, hey, there might be some leak somewhere, you need to fix that. Right, so it's giving you opportunity. It's not like, oh, these things will go bad. Oh, communication. Yeah, there might be. You need to be careful during retrograde. That yeah, you need to focus on your communication, on your sense of humor, on the way you do trade and commerce and business, all of that, transportation, all of that. You be careful. But the big thing is that we're missing is based on this Nadi technique. Mercury will be in the previous sign, so it wants to go to the previous sign and do something right. So it'll help you maybe to put a stop on your expenses. It may help you to figure out maybe some secret enemies for plotting something against you. You can go back and look at it and then take care of it. Maybe you forgot to give some donation that you promised. A lot of people, they promise, oh, I'll give 100 rupees if I get this and that. So which is a separate topic, but the idea is maybe you promised something to give to maybe some priest or something, some kind of donation. You said, I'll do that, but you forgot, so you need to take care of that. Focus on astral travel, maybe like lucid dreaming or yoga nidra. Those things you may have ignored, or you have the potential, you haven't been focusing on that, or maybe there were some obstacles earlier in that path, in your progress in that area. So now with Mercury retrograde in Aries is giving you a second chance to fix all of those things pertaining to your 12th house. So that's the Mercury retrograde for Aries rising. Next is Taurus rising. So Taurus rising, Mercury retrograde is taking place in the 12th house itself. But as I mentioned, Mercury retrograde means it wants to go back to the previous sign and the previous house, right? So essentially, Mercury wants to go to the 11th house. For Taurus rising, Mercury wants you to go back to the 11th house matters and fix some things. Do some improvements in that area. So 11th house represents our friend circle, social media, our social network, our communication at large. 11th house is our wealth, our gains, our income, and all of our, elder siblings, and the body part is our ankles. And so you want to do something properly in those areas. So maybe you had some issues with your friends earlier. So now is the time for you to go back and make up to your friends. Maybe you didn't pay attention to your income or wealth. This is your second chance to improve your income, your wealth, your gains. Good time to focus on your desires. 11th house is the big house for desires. You can focus on your communication at large, your social network, how you present yourself. Maybe you're doing, public speaking. So this is opportunity for you to really make things much better in those areas of life, all of the things connected with the 11th house. Yes, you want to be careful about 12th house matters also because Mercury is there, but essentially Mercury wants you to go back and fix something in the previous house, which is the 11th house for Taurus rising. Next is Gemini rising. Gemini rising, Mercury is sitting in the 11th house in Aries, here, number 1 Aries, but it wants to go back to the 10th house. So essentially, 10th house matters, which is profession, your karma, your career. The body part is your knees, and it's the powerful people, people with power, public figures, leadership. So all of that is 10th house. So meaning you may want to rectify some things connected with those people. You may want to do some improvement in your career. Maybe there were some mistakes or things happen at your job or your profession. in your career, which you can rectify now, or you can make improvements and do things in a better way, and take care of your knees. Maybe you ignored your knees, and now is the golden opportunity to focus on those areas and fix things or make things much better, improve things in that area rather than fixing. Next is Cancer rising. So Cancer rising, Aries is sitting in the 10th house. I'm sorry, Mercury is sitting in Aries in the 10th house, but it wants to go back to the 9th house. So essentially, Mercury is telling you, hey, you need to focus on your 9th house, okay? Because Pisces is your 9th house, Mercury wants to go back to Pisces. So 9th house relates to our father, our gurus, our superiors. 9th house is the dharma. 9th house is the bhagya, our luck. 9th house represents our thighs, the body part. 9th house is the long distance travels. 9th house is philosophy, discussions, education, higher education especially. And all of that, it's a trikona, so it's a Lakshmi sthan. And also Mercury retrograde for you as a Gemini rising is giving you an opportunity to make all of those things better. So it's a golden opportunity. That's the blessing of Mercury. And the Nadi Technique says, look at the previous house where Mercury is retrograde, go back to the previous sign, previous house. So 9th house things, your luck, your father, your gurus, your teachers, your superiors, your thighs, long distance travel, dharma, discussion with the gurus, pilgrimage, visiting some spiritual places, all of that you can improve on. This is the golden opportunity to focus on those and make big improvements in those areas. Next is Leo rising. Number 5 is Leo. For Leo rising, Mercury is sitting in the 9th house and it wants to go back to the 8th house. So the Nadi Technique says the planet wants to go back to the previous sign where it's sitting if it goes retrograde. So Mercury wants you to go back, look at the 8th house things you may have ignored, or maybe some issues earlier. Now you can rectify. Now is the time for you to fix things in the 8th house, and not just fix, but make huge improvements. So that's the blessing, that's the opportunity Mercury is giving you right now. And so 8th house connects with sudden changes. 8th house is other people's money, like insurance or money from in-laws. And also it's the chronic diseases. 8th house is the fears, unknown things. It's like a abyss. It's the bottomless ocean. 8th house is it's all sorts of unearned income. So all of those things, you can focus on those during this month and a half. I'm sorry, not month and a half. It's about less than 4 weeks, 3.5 to 4 weeks, starting April 21st through May 14th. So this is the time for you to focus on 8th house matters, make improvements on 8th house matters, and that's the blessing of the Mercury. So 8th house again, focus on some of the diseases you may have had for a long time, chronic diseases. Work on your fears. This is the time to let go of those fears. That's the golden opportunity. And of course, a sudden income, insurance, all of that. So getting money from other people and doing a lot of research so you can focus and make improvements in those areas. Next is Virgo rising. Virgo rising, Mercury is sitting in the 8th house. It's going retrograde. That means it wants to go back to your 7th house. So that's the Nadi Technique. So meaning Mercury retrograde in Aries wants to go back to Pisces and fix something in Pisces. That's the blessing, the huge opportunity Mercury is presenting you is go work on your 7th house. You have huge opportunities waiting for you. 7th house represents all our partnerships, especially these are all one-on-one partnerships, both personal partnerships and business partnerships. And it represents our sexual organs. It represents our, essentially it's the society, because 1st house is self and 7th is opposite of that. 1st house, this is self, and 7th is opposite of that, meaning other people. So that includes your spouse, your relationship, all of that. So this is golden opportunity to focus on your relationships, on your one-on-one partnerships, all of that. Next, Libra rising, number 7 sign Libra. So for Libra rising, Mercury is sitting in the 7th house, but it wants to go back to the 6th house because it's retrograde. So retrograde means you just bring it to the previous sign and the previous house. So 6th house matters. 6th house is our health, our Shadripus, the 6 weaknesses that we have. Sixth house is all our enemies. It's the hard work, it's the competition, it's the house for digestion, it's the house of people who work for us, our servants, or any subordinates. It's the house for job, your work, and a house of serving other people, a house for litigation, house for daily routines, dinacharya, or celibacy. All of that is sixth house. So this is a golden opportunity for you to do some things in those areas. All of these things that I mentioned. And maybe pay attention to your daily routine. Pay attention to your 6 Shadripus. So Mercury, it's like a blessing. When a planet goes retrograde, it's like giving you a chance. Hey, let's make things better in this area. So it's not like punishing you or making your life miserable. It's actually giving you a golden opportunity to work on those areas of life. Okay. Next is Scorpio risings. For Scorpio rising, Mercury is sitting in the 6th house, but it wants to go back to the 5th house because it's in Aries, going retrograde, meaning it wants to go back to Pisces. So this is a golden opportunity for you to improve things regarding the 5th house matters. 5th house represents our education, our children, our romance. 5th house is speculation. 5th house is our heart, physical body part is heart. It represents all sorts of creativity and intelligence and buddhi, and brings the punya, the past life punya, the past life good karma. And the house for buddhi, that's intelligence I mentioned, and learning capabilities and memory and sports that we play, and also represents the physical body part is the stomach. So all of those areas, this is a golden opportunity Mercury is presenting us to work on those areas. It's the blessing of the Mercury to improve all of those areas. Next is Sagittarius rising. Sagittarius rising, Mercury is sitting in the 5th house already, and it wants to go back to the 4th house. So retrograde means you just put it in the previous sign. So for Sagittarius rising, which is number 9, Mercury wants to go back to the 4th house, and it's giving you a golden opportunity to fix some things or improve things related to the 4th house. 4th house represents your mother, represents your education, primary education, represents real estate, the house that you live in, your vehicles, anything that gives you comfort. That could be different things for different people. Represents our chest. The physical body part is the chest, and represents our emotions, hidden emotions, the things that give us inner happiness, our childhood upbringing, and respiration, all of that. So all of those things, you have potential, you have the opportunity to make those things better, to improve those areas of life, all of these things that I mentioned. Next is Capricorn rising. Capricorn rising, Mercury is sitting in the 4th house, but it wants to go back to the 3rd house because it's in Aries in the 4th house. And if you bring it to the previous sign, it's Pisces. So this is the 3rd house, 1st house, 2nd house, 3rd house. So for Capricorn rising, Mercury wants to go back to the 3rd house, giving you a golden chance to improve things related to the 3rd house. So what are the things for 3rd house? That represents your courage. So maybe you were not courageous. Mercury giving you a second chance to become better in those areas. 3rd house represents our younger siblings. Also house for our desires. It's the Kama Trikona. Our communication, all sorts of communications, writing, email, things like that. And then all our skills, especially with the hands skills that, where you use your hands. All sorts of information exchange, communication, as I mentioned. The physical body part is the throat, the hands and the shoulders, all of that. And also running errands like short distance travel within the city, you can say. All sorts of documentation, maybe you're signing some papers, and represents your close friends, friends you consider very close to you, almost like your siblings, and your neighbors. So people around the area that you live in, all of those things. So this is a golden opportunity. This is the blessing of the Mercury to improve things in those areas of your life. The 3rd house matters for Capricorn rising. Next is Aquarius rising. Mercury is sitting in the 3rd house. It wants to go back to the 2nd house. So the blessings of Mercury are for you to pay attention. It's giving you a second chance to improve things related to the 2nd house. Now, what are the 2nd house things? Our speech, the words that we speak, the food that we put in our mouth, and our family, our kutumba, it's called. That's your accumulated wealth, sunshine. It's the body part is the face, right? And all your savings and assets, all of that. And also body part on one other thing is especially your right eye. So Mercury is giving you a golden chance opportunity to make things better in those areas, improve, and also maybe some things you may have had issues in those areas. So now is your chance to fix those. Finally, Pisces rising, the last sign of the zodiac. For Pisces, Mercury is sitting in the second house. That's you can't really see very well because there's so many planets here, but ME is the Mercury retrograde. So it wants to actually go back. So it wants to go to the first house, the Lagna. The Pisces is the Lagna, the rising sign. So Mercury wants to go back to the previous sign, the first house. So this is the chance for you to improve yourself. First house represents our self, our being, our body, our physical appearance in general, our self-expression, our identity, our mindset, our behavior, essentially it's you. It represents you as a package, as an overall being, and your health also in general. So the health is an important part of that. So all of those things, Mercury giving you a golden chance to improve those things in your life. All right. So Mercury will be retrograde from April 21st through May 15th. Yes, take care of your documentation, take care of your communication, of your transportation when you travel, of your trade and commerce and business, and your sense of humor and the way you present yourself. All of that is Mercury for sure. Retrograde means you just pay attention, but nothing to fear, nothing to worry. As I mentioned, use this Nadi technique where put Mercury in the previous sign, in the previous house, instead of that same house where it is. So Mercury is going retrograde in Aries, but you want to focus on the sign of Pisces in your birth chart and see which house it is. So which house is Pisces in your birth chart? That is the area where you're getting the huge blessing of Mercury. Okay, so hope this was useful. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you very much. Namaste.